A sponge activity that I like to do in my math classes is called the silent board game. And basically what I do is I think of a function, a rule like y equals 3x minus 2. And on the board I create the function table, and I have at the very end is x. And then I come up with some different possibilities for x and y. And so like I might put in 3 and 7 and put that as the input and then the output. And I'll put another input and output that match together, like -2 and -8. And then I'll put in some different values for x and for y, but they're not necessarily in order because kids can figure out the pattern that way. So instead they have to think of ways in which, how do you get from x to y? And then they come up silently up to the board, grab a marker, and put down what they think the x or the y may be to match. If it's correct, I leave it up there. If not, I'll just quietly erase. Once a student has come up and filled it in properly, they can't come up again because obviously they figured out the pattern. But other kids come up and try and see if we can get the pattern. At the very end, instead of just writing y below the x, they have to come up with the rule, the expression that matches. And this is great for any grade level. It can be very basic to being very complex. So I've used it from 6th grade up to 9th grade, which is I've taught, but you can use it at any level.
Okay, so in class when I have a few minutes free, depending on how much time it is, let's say about 5 minutes, something I like to do is to integrate stuff that students are learning in other classes, take vocabulary from that class, and have my students use vocabulary in my content area to blend with things they're learning elsewhere. So, for example, in class today I had students write as many meaningful words or sentences using words from their English class combined with recent words from our science class. And so I can, in about 30 seconds, put together a list of what they've been learning in English and words that we've been learning in science. And they just have whatever time is remaining in class to write as many meaningful sentences as they can. And that rewards, there's no end to it, it's open-ended, so it rewards students that can write 10 sentences about it. And it still supports students who are only writing 1 or 2 sentences, or if they're still finishing up other more relevant work instead of getting engaged in the sponge activity, it doesn't hurt them. It's not like we're moving on without them.
So sometimes at the end of class or for a review, if we have some extra time, I'll have the class divide into 2 parts and their teams, and I'll have 2 people come up and they will, 2 people, 1 on each side, will face the screen while the others cannot face the screen. The rest of the class should be watching and participating and cheering on their team. I write a word on underneath the doc cam that has to pertain to what we were studying that day or what we're learning. Maybe we had a lecture, maybe we just read and outlined a chapter. And so I'd write a word down or the name of a person or an idea, and the 2 people that are facing the screen have to get their partners to guess the word or the idea or the concept without saying what that word is. They can act it out, they can say anything else. So it's kind of like Taboo, the game where you can't use certain words to describe it. If you win, you get to stay up there, and, yay. If you don't win, then it rotates, and the person that was trying to get the person to guess is now the new guesser. The person who just was guessing gets to pick another person from their team to stand up there. It's really good because it tries to get everyone involved, and it can get really exciting. It can get sometimes loud, but it can get a lot of people involved, which is really fun, especially right before you break for the next period. So it's a fun game.
The purpose of using the beach ball with the high schoolers is to check in with something that they might have learned, something that they're concerned about, or something that they want to learn. What I do is have the students pass the ball around to one another. Also, I play with them, and we talk about maybe it's one thing that they learned from the day that they didn't know before. If I'm setting up a lesson, I might ask them something that they would like to learn or something that they're concerned about. And this can be done at any point throughout the day. Like I said, the beginning of the lesson, you could even do it in the middle of the lesson or towards the end. The ball can be passed around to as many students as you would like, depending on how long you would like the sponge activity to last for. And it's just a quick and easy and fun way to get kids to share their learning, their concerns, and what they would like to learn.
One of the sponge activities that I like to do is called Literary Terms Matchup. And what I do is, when I have a few minutes left at the end of the period, I give every student either a yellow colored popsicle stick or a pink colored popsicle stick. And what they do is they get up out of their seats. They need to match up with each other. So a person holding a yellow stick needs to match up with a person holding a pink stick. And together they talk and they come up with, in this case, a metaphor about soccer. Another example could be alliteration about a boyfriend. So just some ways to go over literary terms with fun topics that engage students, and it's very interactive. There's a lot of language going on in the classroom. I, as a teacher, can go around and check for understanding and see who's getting it, and see where some of the students are a little confused with some of the terms. Simile is in here, hyperbole, and so it's a good review for different literary terms and topics that we're going over.
One of the sponge activities that I like to use towards the end of class is progressive writing, where I group students together and provide a given prompt for all of them. Now, they'll get a couple minutes to go ahead and start writing on this prompt. A couple minutes in, I'll have them pass their paper to the right. So then the next student who receives this paper picks up right where the last student left off. They will pass this on a couple of times, depending on how much time we have. But I like this one because, one, it allows the students to use their creativity, and another reason is they get to share their writing styles and learn from each other.